this. I'm competing with 80 years worth of echoes here. I mean, can you hear me down there in the corners? You guys can hear me? How about down there? No? I have no idea what to do about it. We're going to have to tough this out. I will do my best to throw my voice, this beautiful, melodious voice, to the corners of these rooms. But just bear with me as best you can. But before I start, I got to do one thing. Before you leave tonight, I invite everyone to do this. I remember when I was in high school, I read this article that said that if you put a brick of silver and a brick of gold together, molecules from one go into the other. These walls have this community and the living blood of this community, and here we are, and I just wanted to touch those walls. Just for a minute, let the show go. Look where we are. We're here. I am so appreciative. I'm here for all of you, just saying. I'm a cursing man, and I won't do it now, but you know what I'm thinking. I just want to thank Leaving Syracuse. It's such a privilege. My wife Nora is here. My kids are here. Their friends are here. I have seen so many people I love tonight. It is just such an honor to be here. The night I interviewed the Syracuse newspapers in 1988 was the last time I stayed in this hotel. And it is like, I never pictured this. This is so beautiful, and when is any building so perfectly represented in an event? Believe in Syracuse. With that idea, that theme, I thought I should talk tonight about the greatest invention in the history of Syracuse. Greatest invention. I'll tell you my number 2 pick. Number 2 is the Brannick device. Right across the street over here, Charlie Brannick invented that little metal thing that measures the foot. It's a digital age, it's the 21st century. They still can't beat it. It's still made here. They use it in China. That thing, but that's number 2. That's number 2. Okay? But I'm a storyteller. That's what I do. I tell stories. So let me begin by telling a story to kind of make my point. You walk out the door, Central High School is over there. Right in front of Central High School is Billings Park. Billings Park. And if you drive by Billings Park, there's a statue you see all the time. World War I guy with his foot on a rock, rifle up in the air. It's a statue like a million other statues in Syracuse, right? Wrong! Let me tell you the story of the statue in Billings Park. In 1918, soldiers from the 38th Infantry and the 3rd Division, young kids, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids, come to Syracuse from all over the country to train at the New York State Fairgrounds. They gave each other nicknames based on the barns where they stayed, the farm animals, the barns where they stayed. These young kids, the Americans are just coming into the war, and those kids get sent to Europe into a bloodbath, into the worst example of human chaos and behavior in the history of this planet, and that's saying something. The German army in 1918 was weary, worn down. Millions and millions had died. The Germans decide they're going to make one last offensive. They're going to try and take Paris. Because if they take Paris, they can sue for peace. And the way World War I ended would have ended very differently, and the entire world would be a different place. So they take these kids who trained in Syracuse, and they throw them into the middle of that inferno. They're in the middle of the line at a place called the Second Battle of the Marne. And the Germans come with everything they've got. Tens and tens and tens of thousands of people get killed. And the 38th Infantry and the 3rd Division holds. These kids, these teenagers, hold. And in the end, after an apocalyptic battle, the Germans are turned back. They do not take Paris, and they eventually lose the war. And the world as we know it today happens because of that moment. So these kids who served in that battle take up a collection in Europe. They're going to build a monument to their buddies. Their buddies who died saving Western civilization for us. For us. So they take up a collection in Europe, and they get enough money, and they're going to hire a guy named Perry, an architect, who designed the arch in Greenwich Village in Washington Square Park. Big-time Major League architect. They want to build a monument. And they come back, and they find out they don't have quite enough money. So Congress, understanding the importance of this battle, steps in and fills in the difference. And now these kids, who turned the tide in World War I, have to decide, where do we put this monument? In the entire United States of America, they could have put it any place, and they put it here. That statue in Billings Park is a monument built by people who shed blood to win World War I. Arguably, the most important World War I monument in the United States. People came from all over the country for the dedication. It was a major event. That statue across the street is the symbol of a moment forged in this community, forged in this community, that changed the world. And we forget. We drive past and we don't look twice. We don't put a flower on it on Veterans Day. This is the struggle we faced in this town for all too long. We don't see what we have, the unbelievable heritage. The model of nature and history and ingenuity. You know what? I'm just going to say this because I am so sick of it. Look out that window. You want to know something? I'm going to tell you this about Syracuse. This is one of the most beautiful freaking cities in the United States. And we can't see. You say that to people, they're laughing at you. Like you're full of it. This is an unbelievably beautiful town. This is why we're here tonight. Believe in Syracuse. So let me ask for this commitment from all of you. It's July 2016. 2 years from now, July 2018 is the 100th anniversary of that battle. We ought to bring in people from all over the country to Syracuse. We ought to bring in the Army Brigade that still calls itself the Rock of the Marne. We ought to have a major national celebration because you know what? Those people have a place to stay. This hotel, this magnificent place, this impossible dream. Face it, all of us in our heart. You come downtown and you see this big dark place, and what a lot of us feared was, it's going down. Not going to happen, right? It was saved by the greatest invention in the history of Syracuse. And again, you'll believe it when I tell you. That's why Ed Riley, Al Gore, Kate Frizzell, M&T Bank, the mayor, the county executive, the governor, they all use the greatest invention in making this happen. So many dreams and beautiful nights in these walls, so many weddings, anniversaries, high school proms, first dates and first kisses. This building important. It's important because of the presidents who stay here. It's important because of the women who worked in the basement doing laundry. All equal in this building. And we could have lost it, let it go, given it up. It was saved because of the greatest invention in the history of this community. And before I say what it is, let me give you one more example of that invention in action. If you go to the basement of this hotel, you'll find a very cool and very funky walkway. Some call it a tunnel, running from the hotel, through the actual parking garage, to the onset. The walkway was built in the 1960s. Honest to God, Bob Concho built it. Honest to God. And it has that feel. It even has little windows for posting advertisements. It feels a little like the subway. It was built with the idea that a guest at the hotel should never need to go outdoors. It's still there. Yet Ed Riley, the developer who built this place, chooses not to emphasize it. What? Is he crazy? Sure, if it's pouring, he'll tell a guest to use it. But for the most part, Ed wants guests to walk outside to reach the convention center, and this is his thinking. Ed's goal, as he puts it, is activating the street. He wants to activate the street. He didn't do this project simply to restore one amazing building, ceiling hand-painted, by the way. The idea was creating an engine that's going to lift this whole portion of downtown, and for that to happen, guests need to get outside and walk. Let's be more blunt. For that to happen, guests need to spend money outside this hotel. They need to go to pizzerias. They need to go to coffee shops. They need to go to restaurants. They need to spread a little bit around in what they bring in their pockets, right? But Ed didn't have to do that. He could have shipped them through that tunnel. He could have made it so every sandwich, every cup of coffee, every nickel they drop on the floor goes in his pocket. He made this choice. Ed Riley, and listen to me well, Ed Riley gave up keeping some money for himself for the good of the larger community. Let me repeat, he gave up keeping money for himself for the good of the larger community. I feel like we ought to put that on a banner and hang it up on Salinas. There it is. That's what makes this whole thing feel so good, so right, because so many people brought that kind of feeling to this project. This was not the most economically logical thing to do. It was the right thing to do. And that goes directly to the story of the greatest invention in the history of this town. And please bear with me here, because I think the biggest problem in this town is that we don't see what it is, and when you really consider this story, it blows your mind. Everyone in this room loves Syracuse, and if we love it, we cannot allow ourselves to. We can't kid ourselves. Downtown is coming back. You see it all around us, but this town faces significant, even massive challenges. We have some of the highest rates of extreme poverty in the nation. Many children in our city wake up every day to trials and suffering no child should ever have to face. My wife teaches at McKinley-Brighton, she sees it every day. We have too much violence, too much deprivation. We're not alone in this. All the big upstate cities face the same challenge. Yet all the energy in this room, all the love in this room, will go to naught if we do not look these tragedies straight in the eye. We do not have time for tragedy. We don't don't have time for arguing and bitterness and pettiness. We either rise or we fall. So let me share the secret and tell you about the greatest invention in this town. And it goes back to a story we too easily forget. Planet Earth, only a few communities can say they're the birthplace of a theology, a religion, a faith system. Jerusalem. Jerusalem. I had breakfast the other day with Oren Lyons, and we got to talking about the origins of the Six Nations. The shoreline of Onondaga Lake. The Onondagas believed their peacemaker crossed the lake in a stone canoe. That he gathered 5 nations together. Mohawks, Onondagas, Onondaga, Seneca, Cayuga, who had been busy killing each other. There seemed to be no hope, no solution, just bloodshed. It's just like the problem we have on the streets. Impossible to solve. The peacemaker brought them together, and he convinced them to throw their weapons into a pit, and on top of it they buried a tree. They built a tree of peace. They did it. That happened, Oren told me, because of the greatest invention, not just in the history of this community, but one of the great ideas in the story of the world. The good mind. The good mind. There it is. That's our answer. In government, in education, in our neighborhoods. The good mind says you step back and see your community before yourself. The good mind says you understand there are greater and more lasting things than personal profit. The good mind is a discipline, a calm, a way of thinking beyond self-destructive emotions, and God knows I've been there. The good mind understands we all have difficult moments. We all make mistakes. We all say the wrong thing. We all can come up short. But in the end, we believe in love and reconciliation, in forgiveness and hope. The good mind says you put community, your children and your children's children, before yourself. The good mind says that a hotel that seemed on the brink of falling down could be saved through the selfless efforts of so many, and it could become a symbol of so much else that we can do. The good mind has been at work in Syracuse for a long time. We can do these things. Slavery, the greatest, most destructive evil in the history of this nation. We still feel its ramifications. People said you had to accept it, it couldn't change. Abolitionists in Syracuse put themselves at risk until that evil was no more. We talk now. We talk now of the life-changing importance of early education. That's the trend. That's what everyone's talking about. We're the birthplace of that idea. Head Start began here. Julius Richmond, Betty Caldwell. Head Start started in a little house over on Adams Street. How many lives have been changed because of this idea that came out of Syracuse? So yes, we believe. We believe the strength and beauty of the people in this town can be as strong and beautiful as the green hills that surround us. We believe that this community is just small enough, just hopeful enough, just creative enough that we can take on heartbreaking problems that often seem too big to answer. We believe that we can forgive, that we're people of goodwill who can get past mistakes and hurt feelings to work together for a greater goal. We believe every child in this town can aspire to love and greatness, and we'll do everything in our power to help them get there because we believe in Syracuse. All it takes is vowing at this moment, when we go out tonight, that when we look around and we see some problem that seems impossible, when we see some problem that people say to us, that cannot be solved, we just look at them and say, are you kidding? We live in the home of the good mind. Thank you.